there will have to be a fundamental shift in the steel making process, because looking at what is the requirement of tomorrow in terms of sustainability, when we are seeing the impact of climate change. Last year, Delhi witnessed the highest temperature of 52 degrees centigrade. I mean, you would have read about at COP29, Baku, that World Meteorological Organization, the first day when they presented the report, I mean, they mentioned that already we have surpassed the threshold which was decided in terms of the temperature rise from the pre-industrial era of 1.5 degree. They say it should be 1.5 degree, can be up to 2 degrees centigrade for the pre-industrial era. So there the report mentioned that we last year we already crossed to 1.54 was a temperature rise. So if business as usual happens, the environmentalists are saying that we might be crossing around 2.5 degrees centigrade by 2050. So the outcome of that are going to be horrendous. So we have to keep a watch on that, and we have to keep on tweaking with the processes in the same manner so that our decarbonization is happening in the same manner. And we the high one of the highest carbon emitting sector, carbon dioxide emitting sector. I mean, in the country, we are emitting around 2.54 tons of carbon dioxide per ton of steel. So that becomes uh, less and less carbon emitting and more green. Our Honorable Prime Minister has set a target for us that by 2070, we have to become net zero. All the steel makers, they have chalked out their trajectory of primarily most of the I'm talking about the big steel maker. By 2050, all of them would become green within the definition of steel, because steel cannot be net zero in the very objective sense. So this is the background in which we are working, and in time to come, one has to be also cautious of one the challenges of climate change, and secondly also the manner in which the climate change regulations are going to be applied within the country and outside the country, the manner in which the carbon market is going to function. So in this kind of a framework, in the short run, uh, we would be relying on blast furnace, and as far as possible on DRI plus electric arc furnace. In the medium term, it's going to be uh, after to 2030, green hydrogen would kick in, and carbon capture. Yesterday, I mean, there was a mention that uh, most of us were under the impression that in CCUS, carbon capture, utilization and storage technology, not much work is happening. But we were told there are around 300, around 400, I'll say that 380 to be exact, 400 uh, pilots are going on world over. So I'm sure when that comes, the blast furnace will become more green. But nevertheless, raw material is required. Our raw material quality of iron ore is, I'll say the iron ore content wise, is not what it is in Brazil. And with time, the Fe content is reducing. Coal we are deficient of. That's why we require coal from wherever it is available right now for the blast furnace route. So in this kind of a background, the solution lies in collaborations. And when we talk about the technology development, there again, most of the path-breaking technologies are in the experimental phase or in the pilot phase. I mean, they are emanating from the interdisciplinary research, whether it's a molten oxide electrolysis, or it is their enzyme-based reduction processes are also being work is going on at different places. So all these things are, so basically it's an era of collaboration between different fields of academics, collaboration between uh, various nations, and so we have to really chalk out a path that we develop in the same manner. Along with that, we remain sustainable. Thank you very much. That's all from me.
Thank you, Sanjay sir, for your insightful address. So maybe I think in the interest of time, I'll quickly set the context. I have a very short presentation. Can I have the presentation now? Right. So as Mr. Singh mentioned about the kind of demand projections we are having for India. So we are looking at 300 million tons of capacity by 2030-31 and 500 million tons by 2047. In fact, yesterday, Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industries, he mentioned about should we look at an even higher target of 1 billion tons capacity by 2047 because India is a growing and developing in a developed economy by that time is aspiring to be that. Now, if I look at from a 2030-31, so today, if I look today the present consumption, if you look at the data on the near screen, so iron ore, coking coal, magnesite, ferrous scrap, manganese, and so on, and there is a large demand. So the forecast is the demand will grow significantly, be it in iron ore, where we are looking at high demand going forward, even if you've got chromite, nickel, and so on. And many of these have import dependence of high import dependent. Like nickel, we are almost 100% import dependent. Similarly, we are importing magnesite, for example, which goes into refractories, dolomite and high grade limestone specifically, and coking coal, of course. So clearly, I think the challenges we have is in terms of the scarcity of high-grade materials for some of these. Our coal is there, and of course, there is lack of domestic reserves for alloying minerals and recycling. So these are some of the challenges. And if you look at from a theme perspective, so there are two themes. Of course, I will focus more on the overseas collaborations, but in terms of exploration, the government has taken a lot of activities and in the exploration we have the various policies being introduced in the recent past. We have accelerated the auction of blocks and operationalization as well as there's a focus on circular economy and usage of scrap. Overseas, again, acquisitions, partnerships like Kabul, we are looking at IC strategy, international collaboration strategy, the MSP mineral security partnerships, and there is a need to have long-term agreements with some of the resource need nations and establish partnerships. So clearly, I think if I look at from a domestic perspective, there are a lot of initiatives undertaken in the last few years, and most recently we had launched a national critical minerals mission, which has provisions for almost 34,000 crores for this mission, and recycling itself has 1,500 crores. There are opportunities as well in terms of how do I have more auctions, especially iron ore and so on and so forth. But more importantly, I'll focus on the opportunities where I think some of the, some of you are here. So clearly, initiatives like Kabul, initiatives like Mineral Security Partnership, Critical Minerals Investment Partnerships are there. But there are opportunities like, there are countries which have very good reserves, like Mongolia has excellent reserves of coking coal. Similarly, if I look at Mozambique, good quality coal. If I look at Nigeria, high quality iron ore as well as limestone. So clearly, I think this forum is to discuss what are these opportunities, how do we collaborate better, so that it's a win-win proposition for both nations, as well as we secure our become more sustainable and more self-dependent and going forward, Atmanirbhar, as we said. So with that, probably I'll request uh, for the country perspectives. So I'll request His Excellency Ganbold Damjadev to talk about how do you see this partnership going forward with India and Mongolia.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the invitation to participate in this important activity and event. And I'd like to express our appreciation for providing us opportunity. In terms of who we are, the Mongolia is a country that's sandwiched between Russia and China. By territory, we half of India, while by population we only 3.5 million. And thanks to God, we very rich in minerals. We have everything that is listed in the uh, chemical table of Mendeleev. So we very rich in gold, copper, coking coal, you name it, we have everything. Rare earth elements, we have it. So the whole policy of the Mongolian government is reflected in the Vision 2050 of the government of Mongolia, as well as the action plan of the current government how to implement. And as a country, we open for any type of cooperation with our Indian friends, whether it's a joint venture or direct acquisition or you name it. So Mongolia is a democratic country. Our investment law as a legislative body is all completely flat. So taxation is 10% flat. So it's open for the foreign direct investment as well as cooperation. And we're interested in doing the joint collaboration with our foreign our colleagues. In terms of overall our bilateral relations, we Mongolia and India enjoy the strategic partnership, and we consider India as our one of the most important third neighbor in this region. And I'm happy to note that Mongolia and India are commemorating 70th anniversary of the establishment diplomatic relations between Mongolia and India this year. In our foreign policy, we consider India as I said, most important neighbor in our third neighbor, while Mongolia comes under the Act East policy of the Indian government. In terms of the current cooperation, we doing very good with the copper of the Australian company Rio Tinto, as well. We started cooperation with the France on uranium. We had a very good discussion with the rare earth elements with the Germany and Republic of Korea. We do have start discussion with the Steel Authority of India for the bringing the Mongolian coking coal to India. We are looking forward for long-term cooperation, and at the highest level, we confirmed that our price of Mongolian coking coal will be compatible to what India is receiving having today. Personally, I'd love to refer to Indian economy as elephant economy. You know, it's big enough, wise enough, it's strong potentials, and I believe that India should be more aggressive in terms of approach to Mongolian raw materials market. So when I speak with our Indian friends, I just the naming. I mean, just give the proper understanding is that imagine that Mongolia is like a young boy who has two brothers. The northern one is a Russian bear, and of course the southern one is Chinese dragon. So in between those giants, only one animal can enter, and I would say it's Indian elephant. So by this, I'm saying that there are doors open for our Indians colleagues to come to India. We open for any part of cooperation, and we're ready to discuss any opportunities. We have around 20 delegates from Mongolia coming from our mining sector as well as metallurgy. They're around the pavilion. Probably you can meet them and discuss any type of cooperation. And I would like to give the opportunity to our other friends to give them floor, and I'm confident that if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer on my knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, His Excellency. Really insightful. Next, I request Mr. Cristiano dos Santos, Minister, Counselor, High Commissioner of Mozambique, to share his perspective and how this collaboration can go further for the mutual benefits of the countries.
Thank you very much. Allow me first to thank the Minister of Steel, Government of India, and FIC for inviting us to participate in this gathering, and also for their very warm and excellent hospitality. We're going to address the topic from Mozambique's internal perspective, which is related to its bid to diversify the use of natural resources, creating a reliable basis for its economic sustainable security. And the aim is to do that through the industrialization of the economy. I'll give you a brief overview of the country's trade situation right now, where the exports are around 48% of imports, and imports are growing clearly and surpass the exports at a rate of 101% compared to 59% for exports. In general, Mozambique exports are dominated by products for mega mining and electricity projects. As such, exports are mainly aluminium, coal, electricity, gas, and minerals, with a contribution of about 60% of total exports. And the remaining 40% are represented by other traditional exports like tobacco, wood, sugar, cashew nuts, shrimps, grains, and pulse, among others. In terms of destination of our exports, we have our neighbors, South Africa first, and then it's followed by the Netherlands and India, which is one of our strategic partners. Now, this situation makes it clear that Mozambique faced the challenge of transitioning from a resource-dependent economy to a more diversified and resilient one. The national economy depends significantly on the exports of primary products, such as I mentioned, minerals and agricultural products. And this economic structure makes the country vulnerable to price fluctuations on the international market. I'll just give you a few examples. In 2014 and 15, the aluminium price fell by around 13.68%. And then in 2015, same year, electricity fell by 4.59%, and coal fell by 23.52%. And those are the main exports of the country. So this shows how dependent the country is on its exports. Well, several Indian companies are major players in Mozambique coal's industry, operating mainly in one of the largest coal deposits in Mozambique, in Tete province, which is in the northwest part of the country. Now, to address this situation, the country has some challenges that must be overcome, namely infrastructure deficits, promoting value-added industries within the country, and ensure sustainable resource management. This is crucial for economic growth and security. Another challenge that the country has is that, as I mentioned again, the country imports products that can be produced locally if a strategy and stimulus necessary for that are provided. The Mozambican industrial sector is fundamentally made up of micro and small companies, which account for more than 90% of the industrial market. But in terms of perspective for its economic diversification, Mozambique's natural resource potential is enormous. It has metallic and non-metallic minerals, fertile land, rivers, meaning water, and sea, a very long coastline of about 2,700 kilometers. This places industry in a privileged position to be developed and for the development of manufacturing industry in the country. This opens up new prospects for industrial development if right strategies are developed and duly implemented, allowing opportunities generated by these factors to be captured and capitalized on. Another issue that is worth mentioning is the enormous potential that the country has in natural gas. Through many of its derivatives, when the gas is processed, this can provide important raw materials for agro-industrial development, production of liquid fuels, petrochemicals, fertilizers, and electricity. In the field of infrastructure, especially in transport, electricity, and communications, the government, in collaboration with the international community, has carried out various infrastructure projects. However, the level is still at a low stage. In terms of public policies, the government has implemented a series of policies, including developing the agricultural value chain, strengthening infrastructure, and attracting foreign investment with a view to boosting the industrial process. The government has adopted policies, industrial policy and strategy, and mainly there is a national program for industrializing the country that has been adopted as well, which is informed by a much broader regional and global context. That is the SADC industrialization strategy. That's the regional community where we are in the Southern African region, and the sustainable development goals as well, to take into account all the challenges we have with climate change and so on. The Mozambican government has also adopted a national strategy which aims to raise the living conditions of the population through the structural transformation of its economy, expansion and diversification of the productive base. This program will cover the rehabilitation or extension of industrial projects, as well as setting up new industrial ventures, which should stimulate the development of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises within the country. The program aims to increase the use of local raw materials in national industrial production and reduce the dependence of country's economy on export of raw materials and promote the consumption for national products. Government aims with this program of industrialization to establish in the short, medium, and long term industries whose products are imported while the capacity to replace them locally can be created quickly with some stimulus. The program represents a reinforcement of the strategic vision of modernizing industry to move away from the mere production and export of commodities to their transformation within the country, which entails adopting policies to discourage the export of unprocessed raw materials in a way of adding value to the national economy. In conclusion, Mozambique's industrial process presents ample opportunities for investment in different sectors, which is which not only have enormous resource potential, but also benefit from the support of government policies and incentives for foreign investment. The pearl of the Indian Ocean, as Mozambique is known, eagerly awaits for all of you, dear investors, so that together we can work to take advantage of the immense investment opportunities that the country offers, resulting or as a result of its enormous potential in different areas. I thank you all.
Thank you so much. Clearly, I think Mozambique is a land of opportunities, and thank you for sharing the insights. Next is Mr. Ime Ikiripko, Director, Metallurgical Raw Materials and Investment Promotion, Ministry of Steel Development, Nigeria. Maybe I'll request you to share your perspectives and how Nigeria is looking at collaborating with countries like India to kind of for mutual benefits.
Thank you so much. It's a great privilege to be here. I want to thank the government of India through the Ministry of Steel and FICCI for this opportunity. Nigeria is a country in West Africa. It has a huge population, 20 million people, diverse in culture, and very huge in human capital potentials. Natural resources are almost limitless. Very recently, we got some consultants to put a value on what we have discovered as natural resources so far, and we discovered we have natural resources that are valued at over $7 trillion. And this speaks to very great opportunities for potential investors because Nigeria has made very good policies in place, good legal and regulatory framework for potential investors to invest in the mining industry, which of course we all know leads to steel production. We have good investment climate, good incentives in place, and therefore within the purview of the raw materials diversification and security, we know very well that diversifying our raw materials can expand and can reduce our import dependency. At the moment, Nigeria is importing over 80% of its steel products. We are not producing any crude steel in Nigeria at the moment. We have only produced per annum only about 2.5 million tons through recycled steel. But then we have very huge deposits of iron ore that has not been touched. What we've discovered so far, over 7 billion tons of iron ore resources are lying untouched. Coal resources also have not been touched. Therefore, the present government led by our president, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has made very beautiful strategies available for the nation to diversify its economy. And this is, we are looking at opening up the industry. The government has invested huge sums of money in mineral exploration projects to generate geoscience data and have bankable data that will be useful to prospective investors, because we have also within this exploration works discovered huge pegmatites that have huge deposits of lithium in Nigeria, and therefore we are looking at partnering with investors from across the world. We have gone promoting investments in this sector all over the world, including India. My president was in India recently, and the Prime Minister of India was also in Nigeria. We've had several conversations that are going to lead to several investments. Perhaps that is also why I'm privileged to be here to further open opportunities for further conversations around this. But we know that diversifying our raw material base can increase our self-sufficiency in steel production, and of course, it will improve our competitiveness. The key raw materials in steel production, iron ore, we have huge deposits of them untouched. Scrap metal, we have a good base of scrap metals because we have privileged to have enjoyed petrodollars for over 4 decades, and this has led to all manner of accumulations of imports of materials, metal-bearing materials from all over the world, This has turned around to be a much sought after resource, scrap metal. We have a lot available in Nigeria. We also have coal, which we are not yet sure whether it is coking. We are carrying out studies to find out how cookable this coal is. It's a very huge deposits of it. But if it happens that it is not cookable, of course, we will have to depend on imports. The basic challenges that we may be having in the raw material supply chain for the steel industry is infrastructure, but the present government is doing a lot. We are carrying out massive construction projects in roads, rails, and ports with the support of Chinese government. We have also invested heavily in modern technologies to improve our efficiency and to reduce cost of what we do to make the environment suitable for investors to take advantage. We have also looked at how to develop local content. Right now, Nigeria is championing a course through the Africa Mineral Strategy Group to ensure that the mineral commodities that originate from Nigeria, we add value to them in country before we can take them out. So the basic strategy is to develop these raw materials, iron ore, scrap metal, and to reduce dependence on imports. And we rely on our partners to achieve this purpose. As we speak, we have uh, Indian companies that are doing very well in steel production in Nigeria. They are leading because our country has liberalized. The government has no business doing business. So we have completely liberalized our steel industry in Nigeria. So on the issue of supply chain, of course, we have identified and we are creating mitigation measures to ensure that the supply chain can be stable to supply necessary raw materials to prospective investors who are working in Nigeria. Of course, we create the regulatory framework, the policies that will encourage investments in Nigeria. Um, Nigeria is very much ready to receive investors. Nigeria is the fastest growing country in Africa, the largest economy in Africa by the recent rebasing of our economy. And we have diversified our revenue base and made sure that those who work in Nigeria come back to their homes smiling because they can repatriate their proceeds from any investments they do in Nigeria. Nigeria welcomes you anytime, and I'm sure we'll have many places we'll cooperate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kripko. I think quite insightful. One is, of course, we know the iron ore and coal, but lithium was something that was very insightful, and of course, scrap metal. Thank you so much. So next time, move on to the stakeholders from the industry. Start with Mr. Vishwakarma, Executive Director Mecon. So maybe I request you to keep it brief because we are running a bit delayed. Maybe 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes with brief pointers on your perspectives on what needs to be done around raw material diversification and security.
So esteemed dignitaries on the dais, see, as we have been talking about the steel industry in India, and a lot of information have been shared. So the one very interesting fact is that the industry is growing at a very unprecedented pace. The consumption and production has been growing at more than 10%, and it is much more above the GDP growth rate. And the consumption is
Vishwakarma
mainly
sir,
driven by,
be short and
yeah,
you can just be
yeah.
very specific on your what contributions and what your company as an engineering consultant company can help and work around in these three countries.
Yeah.
We can work on that issue.
So Mecon is a basically engineering design engineering consultancy organization, and we have a very strong mining group, geology, mining, and mineral beneficiation group. So we offer services in geological evaluation, mine planning, mineral processing, mine involvement, statutory reports, asset valuation, transaction advisory, even selection of MDOs, detailed engineering and project management services, encompassing various minerals like iron ore, coal, uranium, copper, bauxite, rock phosphate, gold, chromium. So in these countries, in fact, in Nigeria, we have had a very long presence, and in the steel sector, Mekon has been very much associated, both in the Wari steel plant as well as in the Ajaokota steel plant, that BF route in Ajaokota plant and DREF route in the Wari plant. So, and these integrated steel plants were supposed to feed the input material to the re-rollers and rolling mills in the northern part of the Nigeria. I myself have visited Nigeria a couple of times. So what we see is that, and we are very happy to note that Nigeria is very rich in minerals. It has a bilateral trade of about $8 billion in 23-24, and key exports to Nigeria from India has been engineering goods. And then we have critical minerals like lithium, as you told. Besides iron ore, Itakpe iron ore mines is there. So we can offer our services in development of those mines, and we can provide our engineering solutions to Nigeria. As far as Mozambique is concerned, so the bilateral trade is to the tune of about $4 billion. We import coking coal and export machineries. In fact, Tata Steel has a JV in Mozambique for coal and iron ore, and also some critical minerals like graphite and chromium are being imported. So natural gas, rutile, zirconium can be another materials which can be imported, and we can offer our engineering solutions in developing those minerals there. As far as Mongolia is concerned, as we learned, it is rich in gold, copper, coking coal, rare earth minerals. So the bilateral trade is to the tune of about 35 million US dollar. There is huge growth potential in mining and digital economy. So, in fact, India-Mongolia agreement was signed to enhance the bilateral economic cooperation and grant each other most favored nation status. So, molybdenum is one strategic mineral which can be imported into the country, and we can provide the engineering solutions for developing those minerals country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vishwakarma. Next, I move on to Mr. Priyaranjan, Executive Director, Operations, Steel Authority of India Limited. Sir, again, I will request you to be brief to the point, and what are the kind of key interventions or key, I would say, aspects you are looking at from a sale perspective. Thanks.
Good morning. Thank you very much. I thank Ministry of Steel and FICCI for giving this opportunity. I will be very brief and on country specific because we have a lot of interest in diversification of resources. Start with Mongolia. We are in discussion with Mongolia for at least last 3 years. We had taken some sample from Mongolia. We tried to evaluate. It's a very good quality coking coal. We are again in discussion. We have appointed Messrs. SGS for bringing another coal sample to finalize the quality of the coal. Even JSW was also a part of this mission. Once we get the final coal sample and get to know the quality of coal, then we will move ahead with finalizing the coal. One more thing is a challenge. Challenge is it's a totally landlocked country. So getting coal from Mongolia, either it has to come through China or through Russia. So I request Mongolian government to work on this logistic part because for any company, cost and efficiency is very important. And this cost, logistic cost becomes very important when we add to the final production cost of the steel. So 1600-kilometer road and then to the port and from port to India to our plant is one challenge. Another is we have received one request from one company in Mongolia regarding a 1 million ton steel plant. They have got some resources of iron ore, so we are looking into it. We will invite them to India to visit our steel plants to have a feel, have a look, and then we can discuss further. Second, we come to Mozambique. Mozambique, we have lot of interest through ICBL. In fact, as His Highness mentioned, there is a drop of 29% in the revenue of the coal. Basically, because we had some issues in the mining in Mozambique. We have a capacity of 5.3 million ton mining in Mozambique, ROM. It can translate into 1.5 million ton good quality coking coal. But we had some issues. We have resolved the issues and we are going ahead. And this new mining will start. And just to add to it, news to sir, that we are trying to double the capacity from 5.3 to 10.6. It's what we are aiming at. So we are moving very fast. We want to establish a very good coking coal resource from Mozambique. But my request, sir, one challenge we are facing is from Benga mine, from to the Senabera sector, 18-kilometer road is there. I request if rail line can be laid so that from Washri directly to the rail route it can go. And sir, second is strengthening of Senabera rail line. It's another challenge. And one more request I will make, sir, in Bera. Our loading capacity is limited to handy max because of the draft of the port. If something can be done to increase the draft of the port, then we can go for Panamax, because with the increasing, the doubling of the capacity, it will be very important to reduce the logistic costs. And next I come to Nigeria. For Nigeria, because as mentioned, there are iron ore and coal, but they are untouched. This coal is not, has been established as coking coal or not. We are looking forward to getting a happy news, coking coal. We are very much interested in knowing that it's coking coal. We'll try to get into collaboration. In fact, I request all three governments to make a specific task force between, maybe between SAIL and your government, so that we can work in a focused manner. And one more partner is here, actually not in the, from the government. We have Oman. We have one person from MD Oman. Actually, we are just, I want to inform the House, we are also looking into some collaborative venture in Oman, because the quality of limestone, what we saw in Oman is very good. And they are endowed with a good quality of natural gas and cheap electricity. We can even think of setting up of a calcination plant in Oman, so that we are able to transport the calcined lime. And if the quality of the iron ore in Nigeria is established, then we can even think of bringing ore from Nigeria to Oman. We can put up a DRI plant, and then from there we can bring to India. These are the collaborative opportunities we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Next, Ms. Srimati Amita Khurana, Chief Procurement, Tata Steel.
Thanks, Rajiv. Good morning to all the dignitaries on the steel.
We are unable to hear you.
Yeah. So I would like to bring the perspective of Tata Steel as a consuming plant. So one is that in terms of so far in last 10, 20, 30 years, we've enjoyed our collaborations with some of other countries like Australia, US, Canada in terms of supply of raw material. But I think with the growing need of the country and the investment plans that we have, there is for us a very, very important target to achieve diversification. When we look at the countries that are being represented here, I think there's a lot of potential that we see. 3 or 4 key points that I would like to highlight in terms of making this collaboration and taking this forward. One, that country to country, of course, the collaboration is there, but company to company collaboration needs to be enhanced. I think for the operating plants to have the confidence on these raw materials, consistent supply chain, the initial sample process, etc., needs to be done so that people have the confidence in terms of how these can influence the blends that we have, and over a period of time, we can increase the utilization of these raw materials. Quality assurance, again, is another very important parameter because that gives the confidence to the site to enhance the usage. I think from that perspective, for us, it's also important to facilitate some visits from the operating technical side to these countries, to these companies, to gain that confidence and take this forward. The third, of course, cost competitiveness. We see that in increasingly very volatile markets, the cost competitiveness is extremely important, and we do feel that these countries can offer the cost competitiveness because of the nascent stages of operations. But there's a lot that can be done in terms of enhancing the capacity. Mr. Priyaranjan mentioned some of the challenges which are there on the supply chain. Again, supply chain reliability is very important, and we would like to engage through the platform of FICCI, ISA, etc., that we can get more information about the supply chain. For example, in Mongolia, while a visit of of representatives from steel companies were made, but I think there has not been much progress thereafter. So there's a very close engagement which is required for us to really understand, get hold of the samples, understand the supply chain, so that the confidence is there. And we would be very happy to facilitate this and also enhance the buying from these countries, because we do see that to at higher steel production rates, more and more raw material will be required, and a lot of security which can be offered through these countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So I think we had a fair bit of discussions and perspectives. First, the country perspectives from Mongolia, Mozambique, and Nigeria. And of course, all these countries are rich in minerals, and they are looking at investments and partnerships with India and Indian companies. Whereas in this, from a stakeholder, the industry perspective from India, I think clearly what came out is that the Indian companies are looking at investing in these countries, especially looking at the kind of long-term relationships as well as the raw materials available. Of course, we spoke about aspects like task forces to be created so that more collaboration can happen quicker. To company collaboration to be enhanced, more visits to these countries so that discussions can happen. Of course, the supply chain, be it the mining, the logistics, and so on, needs to be more strengthened so that it can happen better. So with that, I think I'll request a quick 10 minutes interaction with the stakeholders. We have delegates over here, so maybe we
Let
can
us
have.
open the forum for the people,
Yes.
the delegates to also have some interaction and
Yes.
ask questions. They can raise their hands, introduce themselves, and ask questions. Yeah,
Right.
sir.
Everyone. Good morning, everyone. I'm a delegate from Nigeria. I'm Director General of National Steel Raw Material Exploration Agency. My questions will go to Mekong and Steel Authority. They have actually touched on our main raw materials for steel production in Nigeria. And the key thing now is that we have a semi-coking coal in Nigeria. And now we have done our exploration and we have encountered about 36 seams. Now there is a very complex geological structure at that deposit. So we are looking at in-seam exploration at that particular deposit. So we are looking for collaboration, and for over years now, we are looking for funds so that once this structure is studied and this exploration is carried out, then the minability will be established. That is on the coking coal. Now, on the iron ore, we have two main iron ore in Nigeria, the sedimentary iron ore and the Precambrian or basement iron ore. The huge reserve fall within this sedimentary iron ore, but there is a challenge, the impurity, and that is the sulfur and the phosphorus. They are far above the threshold for steel production. So it is the technology we are looking for. I think we can boast about 7 billion tons within this sedimentary area. So our question now is the technology to be able to remove these impurities, that is the sulfur and the phosphorus. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Anybody else who wants to put a point?
Do I need to respond to his query?
Vishkanath sahab, want to reply to him? Or you can discuss it later on. So, anyone else who wants to have any questions, queries, or any other country representative present here wants to share his or her?
Yes.
I'm Dorcas from Ghana, and I would want to say something a little. I wanted to say Ghana is a fast developing country, and we are rich in some minerals like gold, bauxite, and as well as coal and oil, which I think we can also provide some of the raw materials that can help in, we can provide some of the raw materials needed in the iron and steel production or in the iron and steel sectors. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm from. Am I audible? Is it working? Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm from Bhutan, and till now I have been in the parliament for around 3 terms. Now I enter into private sector. This is a new field for me, but I don't know. Forgive me if I am wrong. Regarding the raw material, since we have steel and the allied sector all present here, we can offer you uh, one of the best dolomites in this region. And our dolomites comes up to Asansol, Durgapur, and Burnpur. But beyond that, if the steel industries here, including Tatas to JSW to MNS, lot others are there, if you could kindly consider, and if you need any further test reports or any other information, I'll be available here. Second thing is Bhutan has been considered, since this is a power intensive project, since we have our advantage is we can offer you clean and green, uninterrupted, consistent power supply at a very competitive price, which is anywhere between 2.5 to 2.9 rupees per unit. So in case if you would like to, if you are in the process of expanding your company, since you have a vision of no, Mr. Modi ji's, the government's vision of scaling up in next few years. So if you consider, I will be available in terms of giving you any information since I have now I have come as a consultant here. So if you'd like to consider later, I can share you my business cards to relate the information and all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments? Okay. If you don't have anything, so I'll request Shri Sanjay Roy, Joint Secretary Minister of Steel, for his address.
Thank you, everyone. It seems the 3 day has been too tiring for people to ask questions. So I will only say that yes, it is a very enriching session which we had today with the three honorable guests, that is the ambassador from Mongolia, minister counselor from Mozambique, and the director metallurgical raw material investments from Nigeria. They have clearly brought out the needs and the issues concerning the sector This session was mainly for the raw material diversification and securitization. But I would like to add that India as a country is not into I, me, and myself. We believe in a symbiotic relationship between the countries. We are not parasitic in nature. So without going any further, the persons concerned will be understanding what I would like to say here. But this is my statement that symbiotic relations between the countries should continue. As we are seeing that there has been a collaborative approach in Nigeria, we have been working in Nigeria, our companies have been very effectively working in Nigeria in iron ore sector, in coal sector, and we assure that in case further expansion can be done, the corporations can go further into the other sectors like lithium and critical minerals also. So here we don't have a representative from one of our mining companies who is looking into the iron ore and lithium issues. And if we can have a further session on that. So, as Nigeria had said that they have gone into infrastructure developmental issues, yes, that is why I said that the symbiotic relations will continue. Coming to the first country, the Mongolia, we have had a historical relationship with Mongolia, not only iron and steel, but it has historical relations go back down to nearly 1,000 years back. So Mongolia being landlocked has its own difficulties and issues, and but we are sure that we are moving ahead. A single step will be effective in taking further new steps in approaching a collaborative approach with Mongolia. And as a first step, I think SAIL and Mongolia are going forward with their coal imports. And I assure that if this goes forward, we have more further cooperation going with Mongolia. Coming to Mozambique, there is a good footprint of Indian companies in Mozambique, not only the ICVL joint venture, which the Indian PSU companies are having in Mozambique. There's other private sector companies also very much there. Plus, there is a good combination of private sector who are working in Mozambique independently of either India or anything, but they have their own entities sitting there and working for development and improvement of Mozambique. Here I will only like to add one thing. The Africa or Mongolia or in fact India have had a literally similar history of past. We had been had been a colonial where we have been exploited of our resource and everything. But here it is a time that those who were exploited should come together and have a collaborative and symbiotic approach. So, as honorable minister from Mozambique had said that their imports have increased by 101% as compared to their exports. So this imbalance for any economy is not very healthy for development. So as a first step to it, what I personally feel that we should reduce our import and export imbalance through proactive sharing of our resources as of now so that the developmental process gets the due impetus. As our former Secretary Saab and representative from JSL has said, that this is a time that we have to look into ourselves and develop into the sectors. And one, this may not be since we develop into new technologies and new things, it may be a possibility that by 2040 the scenarios might have changed to an extent that such exports which we are likely to imports which India wants at this point of time may not be required at that period of time. So since this is a period when imports are required by India, exports are to be done by the countries required so as to sustain their economy. Let us sit together and have a symbiotic relation. So I also take this opportunity to thank Mongolian delegation to say that we have 70 years of relationship only on papers. This is a 1,000 years old relationship which we like to continue further. With this, I will only like to add finally that yes, the three countries have their very high resources. Mongolia is rich in, I think, copper, rare earth, gold, coking coal, uranium, and all these issues are which can be cooperated upon. Mozambique itself has a very good, I think, electricity, coal, gas, but what impacts is the infrastructure development which needs to be settled. And in case the factors B, it can also be considered that we can have a collaborative association in that also with our private sectors entering into the foray with due things. And finally, if we say Nigeria, I have nothing to say. I think we have a very old relationship with Nigeria, and we will continue to develop both towards the social and economic development of the both the countries together. With this, I would like to close my remarks and thank everyone to be here and patiently listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Sanjay Roy. Um, Finally, I'll request uh, Srimati Abha Seth, Assistant General Secretary General FICCI, to send the concluding remarks as well as vote of thanks.
Thank you. Today, we were very fortunate to have wide representation from the ecosystem. His Excellency, Ambassador of Mongolia, distinguished ministers, representatives from across the globe, current and former policymakers, steel producers, secondary steel producers, technology providers, equipment manufacturers, consultancies, and other valued stakeholders. We are thankful to each one of you for your participation and contribution today on the strategic imperatives of raw material security, diversification, and effective risk management with respect to global steel supply chains. Especially in a time like this, when global supply chains are faced with uncertainty, the need for robust, diversified raw material networks is more urgent than ever. With India's ambitious goal of increasing steel capacity to 300 million tons by 2030, the establishment of resilient and diversified supply chains is not merely a priority, it is an imperative for our future. We discussed the projection of a substantial rise in the demand for raw materials for steel making. The fundamental change in requirements going forward to address sustainability concerns was also highlighted. This calls for not only expanding production capacity of raw materials, but more critically, ensuring a reliable supply through diversified sources. Our dialogue celebrated and acknowledged the strategic strengths brought forward by our international partners. Through these partnerships, we can create integrated value chains that foster sustainability, raw material security, and sufficiency, immunity from supply chain and price fluctuations, and improved trade relationships. Such cooperation will enable us to move beyond transactional exchanges to strategic collaborations that address both current demands and long-term goals. We are grateful for the support offered today by the dignitaries. The role of supportive government policies and regulatory reforms towards streamlining processes, enhancing exploration efforts, and encouraging private and public sector synergies is critical to effectively drive our shared ambitions for growth and stability. We thank Ministry of Steel for creating this platform, for providing an opportunity to explore collaboration opportunities across raw material supply chains. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Sri Sanjay Roy, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Steel, for putting the discussions in the perspective and his guidance towards building partnership models. Thank you once again for your active participation and valuable insights. Rajiv, there is a presentation of Memento you were told about. We would like to honor our guests by presenting a memento to them.
Thanks.
May I request Mr. Sanjay Roy to present the memento to His Excellency, Ambassador of Mongolia. We would also like to honor the presence of Minister Councillor, High Commission of Mozambique. And our gratitude to Director, Ministry of Steel Development, Nigeria. Thank you, sir.
Ma'am, can we all have a group photograph together? Ma'am?